Hello there, and welcome once again to The Verdict. Mick, Cornett with Meyers. We're here every week, meeting interesting people and dealing with topical issues. And today, I think we're going to learn something today.
Well, we hope we always do, but I bet we will this time for sure, because we've got a tag team show today. We're going to do something, frankly, in our 1,150 shows we've never done. We're going to bring a guest on in the first segment and talk with him, and then when we finish that segment, he will exit and we will bring one of his compadres on to finish out the show. We're going to be talking with Blake Kerr and Kyle Sweet about Helio risk.
Absolutely. It's coming up today in The Verdict. We'll be right back.
Okay, now
Right now, 6 feet can feel like a long ways away. But from 6 feet, we can still smile at each other. From our doorways and our stairways, from opposite sides of the street and opposite sides of the country. Through fear and frustrations, we can remind each other that we are still here for each other. Because we can still smile at each other. And we're not going anywhere.
Military service ran in my blood, starting from my father, which joined the Navy, on the Chickasaw side, my uncle, which served in the United States Army. I'm Benjamin Espinosa, Chief Petty Officer, United States Navy, and I'm Chickasaw. I went to the Secretary of Defense's staff at the Pentagon in Washington, D.C., which ultimately led to becoming a combat support technician for Naval Special Warfare, specifically SEAL Team 10. I think to be proud and to love your tribe, to love being Chickasaw, you also have to love being American. You also have to love everything that America stands for. Equality, perseverance, professionalism, and power. I want my family to know that their father is a good person, but also feels that he has an obligation to the country and to love this nation. Anything worth having is worth dying for. The military and the country owes me nothing. I owe it everything.
See more stories about the Chickasaw people at profilesofanation.com.
Back to the set of The Verdict. Mick Cornett with Kent Meyers. Kent's going to introduce today's guest.
Well, our first guest today is Blake Kerr. Blake is CEO of Helio Risk, a company we're going to talk a lot more about, and is really the purpose of talking about the show, talking with him on the show. He did his undergraduate work at UCO and at the Air Force Academy and played football at each institution in the process. He's a certified public accountant. His background is in finance, insurance, risk management, and basically business law, and without practicing law. He is active in many civic and charitable activities. Blake, really glad to have you. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Kent. Appreciate it. Glad to be
it's
on.
Great to have you here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So what's new at your office?
New at my office? Well, I would say effectively our global launch. We launched Helio Risk in March of 2023. So just a few months ago, Helio Risk is a unique approach to risk management in a sense that you may hear the term captive management services, but we do far beyond that. I would say globally, we're risk consultants and risk financiers. So we come up with more creative ways outside of the general traditional commercial market to approach insurance needs and risk coverage needs.
Can you give a specific example that would give somebody an idea of what we're talking about?
Yeah. Quite simplistically, a captive insurance company, by definition, is simply an insurance company wholly owned by its insured, and to manage the risk of the owner. So. Simple example is
they're not a hostage.
They're not a hostage.
Okay.
That's right. Me being a CPA and being a small business owner and owning a CPA firm, that would be me basically incorporating an insurance company and being an active carrier licensed in a domicile of choice to cover my own insurance needs.
Now, I know without getting into the weeds too far that an insurance company, in order to operate, has to be heavily capitalized.
That's correct.
Where does the captive get its capitalization?
That's a great question, and that's really kind of the definitive line that divides a mutual company from a captive insurance company is a captive insurance company. The capital comes from the owners of the company itself. So, to where in a mutual company, the policy owners own the company, but they're not risking their own capital. So the capital comes directly from the insured itself.
Now, you started in March of this year.
Mm-hmm.
What got you into this line of endeavor?
Yeah, no, that's a good word. So it is quite the endeavor. So I started my career a long time ago as an intern at the Oklahoma Insurance Department, and I was a premium tax accountant there. I started learning a lot about insurance law and the different sides of it. Kind of aspired to be in the regulatory side of it, but then as my career had it, I ended up being a public accountant and learning, lean towards the tax side of business. As I met with small business owners, I collided into, their needs of not only, strong tax strategy, but two, the actual, cost and the hardening market of the commercial insurance market. And so a lot of my clients would come and say, Blake, is there another option? We need your advice. And so a long time ago, I started working on a business plan, thinking that captive insurance was a great way to compete against the commercial market and provide a lot more control and stability to small and mid-market businesses. And so that was really the genesis of it, was wanting to do something that was bolt-on in financial services that would provide small business and mid-sized business in Oklahoma an opportunity. But what we're finding is this market is really national, if not global. There's a lot of opportunity with organizations all over that can utilize captive insurance and our risk financing services. So, that was really the start.
How do you find your customers?
Some of them, we utilize a lot of channel partnerships. It's interesting. A lot of investment bankers or money managers who have large institutional clients that say, hey, we're running into specific risk financing needs. Well, the commercial market's not talking to us. And so can you help? Can you guys design something that is more unique and creative that fits our clients' needs specifically? So that's a big part. Some of it's just grassroots, being from Oklahoma and being, a small business owner and being a public accountant. I've built quite a network of different organizations that, in the immediate sense, has been where we focused our marketing. But what we've come to find out, and some of the relationships we built very early in the company, is that we're, through a lot of the financial services sector, there are a lot of, again, those channel partners that refer a lot of business to us. So,
what would you tell a business that's considering forming a captive insurance company within? As a possible benefit of them doing it?
Yeah. I mean, I think I alluded to a little bit of that just a bit ago. Is one thing is the hardening of the commercial insurance market. I
and by that you mean
prices are going up.
Okay.
And coverages are getting a little bit more restrictive and prohibited. So the underwriting requirements, and you see that in the banking industry as well, as post-COVID, things are tightening up and getting tough. And so a lot of times our client base can't find the adequate coverage that they need, and so they're faced with the necessity to self-insure, and that's where we come in to help underwrite that. Now, so you could assume a risk and just say, I'm just going to cost it and pay for it if we have a loss. Captive insurance itself is an actual, legal domicile insurance corporation, so you become the insurance company carrier. And you manage your own claims and you manage your own risk. And so to that point, when I talk to business owners, I say, hey, look, we can control cost by competing with the commercial market. We can broaden your coverage because really you're really limited to your creativity. As long as we can actuarially underwrite it, you can have the most creative coverages, that you can think of. And so between that, as you build surplus in your own insurance company, price stability becomes a thing. You can start to get even more creative as you become more well capitalized of favorable years. Those are really the top three. And control. You're not really held captive. I know that's a no pun intended to the commercial underwriters and claims administration services to say we're not going to cover this claim or we are. You have your own claims administration function within your corporation, and we help assist with paying that out. So you have really unlimited control.
Let me ask you a question about this hypothetical. You have an Oklahoma domiciled company that has employees in Oklahoma and Texas.
Okay.
And they want to form their own captive.
Okay.
They do so and would be regulated by the Oklahoma Insurance Department. Yep. Would they also be regulated by the Texas?
That's a great question. So we run into this quite often because we have clients with locations that are multi-state.
Yeah.
So typically speaking, when you're looking at transacting insurance business specifically, that's why this is a legal separate corporation in which we assist the client in picking said domicile. Yeah. So where do we want to transact insurance business because you are a carrier? And so we can segregate that from the actual activities of the parent corporation or owner. So if they have employees in multiple states, it really goes down to where do we want to transact the insurance business. And so those insurance decisions can be held in one specific domicile. You do not have to create multiple insurance carriers in multiple states if you're a multiple state insurer. So, thank you for that question.
Yeah, sure. We're going to have to get to a break. Thanks so much for coming on the show. I know we're going to switch out and bring in one of your coworkers here in the next segment.
All right,
the tag team.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
We'll be back.
At Whitten Burridge, we're litigators. That's all we do. All of our clients, some sort of wrong has occurred to them. We try to right that wrong. Corporate America, they have all the power. It's sort of like going against an army. I like helping the underdog. That's what gets me up out of bed every day.
Our success rate is phenomenal, but that's not all they get. We care about people.
I'm very proud of what we've been able to do for our clients, and I'm looking forward to what we're going to do in the future. There's still a lot of wrongs that need to be righted.
OU Law has a history and heritage that are unparalleled. At the University of Oklahoma College of Law, we empower our students to pursue the career of their dreams. We have the highest U.S. News ranking ever achieved by an Oklahoma law school. We are the first law school in the country to launch a college-wide digital initiative. And this year, our competition teams ranked number 2 in the nation. OU Law, generations of excellence, limitless possibilities.
The Vet Hero office at the University of Central Oklahoma, it is a one-stop shop for veterans when they're trying to get their education.
I call it my encore job. I get to take care of veterans. We help them transition. I was that guy that transitioned after 24 years, and in the end, GI Bill is a benefit that those soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marine earned. It was the thing that made us the greatest country in the world coming out of World War II, and it will continue to do the same thing for this future generation of service members.
Yes.
Mic check, testing 1, 2, 3. Mic check, testing 1, 2. Okay.
Okay.
Welcome back to the set of the verdict. Mick, Cornett with Kent Meyers, and we have a new guest for this segment.
Yes, Helio Risk Take 2. We now have Kyle Sweet joining us. Kyle is a Chief Strategy Officer, and I'm going to ask him what that means here in a minute. He did his undergraduate work at Phillips University, did his law work at the University of Oklahoma. He has, oops. Okay. Got to do it over.
Wouldn't be the first time.
So, you going to watch the Kentucky Derby on Saturday? You
Probably
still
so,
a big horse
yeah.
racing fan?
Yeah, quarter horse racing is my favorite, though. It's much more exciting.
Yeah.
Sprints. Yeah.
Have you been to the Derby before?
Here we go, Mick.
Yeah.
Mick.
I'm ready.
Okay.
Welcome back to the set of The Verdict. Mick Cornett with Kent Meyers, and we have a new guest from Helio.
Yes, we're very pleased to have Kyle Sweet joining us to do the second half of the show. He is the Chief Strategy Officer for Helio Risk. He did his undergraduate work at Phillips University, did his law work at OU. He has significant experience in the captive insurance business, which I think will pay him dividends as Chief Strategy Officer for a captive insurance company. He is the past chair of the Mercy Health Foundation Board, and he is a graduate of Leadership Oklahoma, class of 36. Kyle, thanks for joining us. Glad to have you.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah. So, how did you find yourself in this line of work?
Well, it's an interesting story, maybe only to me, but I'll tell it anyway.
Well, we're interested in it.
I started out my life as a police officer. I grew up on a horse farm. I always watched Adam 12, and I wanted to be a cop, so I was a police officer in Enid for a few years and went to law school at OU. And I got out, and I realized that I had a health law class, and I became passionate about wanting to represent people in the healthcare industry. So I've done that for over 25 years around the United States. And in the context of that, I came in close contact with the business side of things on the insurance side and how risk is financed in both the commercial market. And I started seeing that more and more of my national clients had captive insurance companies as part of their risk management profile of their levels of insurance, which are called towers. And in fact, the University of Oklahoma has historically been one of my firm's larger clients, and I kind of became the chief person to explain their risk financing to plaintiff lawyers and judges and things of that nature. So I got a behind the curtain glimpse into captives, and eventually I've come to own 3 of them myself with some of my business partners, and realize they're an incredible tool for a business owner, whether you're a Fortune 10 company or you're a small business owner.
Where are the opportunities out there? Is it mostly small businesses, large businesses?
All of the above. And essentially anyone who's writing a check to pay a premium to the commercial market, never to see that premium dollar again, is a candidate. And obviously someone who just owns their home and you're better served to just stay in the commercial market. But if you're a business person and you have risk and you're having multiple different types of policies, and often are underinsured or underserved by the commercial market, like emerging trends, for instance, cyber is becoming incredibly difficult for businesses to have because the claims expense has skyrocketed. So essentially, if you're going to write a check with a commercial carrier, you're never going to see the premium dollar again, and your risk, although you may be investing in your business and the safety and security of your cyber platform, you're going to aggregate with everybody who's irresponsible.
Yeah, then you have an incentive
That's
actually
right.
to help ensure that you don't have a claim.
Absolutely. And so you're not only retaining that premium, and if you're safe and do things right, you're going to have that premium forever. And that premium, a percentage of that gets invested into the commercial market, in the stock market, by investment funds. And so we work with captive owners. We help them become captive owners. We help them to determine if a captive is right for them or their business, and we marshal them through that process and engage them with the resources and the partnerships that they need to make sure that their captive is successful and manages their risk. Because essentially that risk is then being pooled with other captive owners, and that's how you capitalize on a large way, lots of different policies for a small business.
All right, so a business brings you in. Who do you deal with? Is it generally the CEO, or is there another level of that business's management that you're probably going to interact with?
Well, the person who loves us the most is the CFO, and the reason for that is we are figuring out a way with the leadership of that particular company to take what is a historical expense that nobody likes and nobody wants to pay and turn that into something that can perform as an asset for that business going forward. And of course, it's regulated, it's legitimate, and it's something that nearly every Fortune 100 company has not only a captive, but multiple captives. In Oklahoma, we're that frontier spirit. We want to be independent. We want to have control over our businesses, and we want to retain as much of the revenue that we're able to create. And so we as Oklahomans have opportunities of having types of risk that you don't often see elsewhere. And so we have very heavy fluctuating costs, and pricing can be things that literally price businesses out of the commercial market. And so captives, we feel that Oklahoma is a new frontier for captives, particularly with our insurance commissioners, support and really funding a mechanism with which to domicile captives in Oklahoma.
And you're regulated by the state insurance office?
Yes, of whatever state that is domiciled. And I've had captives domiciled offshore in the Bahamas and had them domiciled in Tennessee. And in Oklahoma, we have an insurance department that now has its own captive infrastructure. So there's a captive director who came from a state that was a very historically prominent state where lots of captives were formed for large businesses, and is tremendously experienced. And our partner, who is our chief risk officer and general counsel, has managed some of the largest captives in the state of Oklahoma, as well as was the chief risk officer in healthcare for the entire United States for Aon. So we have a lot of a deep bench when it comes to figuring out businesses and lots of different types of industries, how to use captives for the betterment of the corporation.
If you form a captive, can the forming entity pick which risks it's going to cover, and it doesn't have to cover every conceivable risk, I think?
That's a great question. You can have a captive, for instance, Kent, where the only thing you insure is your deductible that you're paying to other insurance companies. So you can literally insure your deductible. You can what's called fronting. If you have certain types of insurance that, for instance, in commercial markets, some banks may say, well, we insist on having this collateralized asset or property to be covered by an insurance policy that's AAA rated. So AAA rated insurance companies often are fronting partners for captives. So you can have a captive and write up yourself policies being fronted for another AAA rated commercial carrier and go into spaces that historically captives could not go on their own.
Are there captives that have become public companies themselves?
Many publicly traded companies have captives. In fact, nearly all top 100. But and here's the key with captives: you are only insuring your own risk. You are not selling third-party insurance. In other words, if I'm in my captives, I can only write policies where the insured is the business itself. So that's what allows the captive world to carve itself out this space where they can safely operate, because they're not selling third-party insurance. And the point of that is, who better to understand your risk than you?
Yeah.
And so to further answer Ken's question, any policy that you can dream up that is an actual risk, because there has to be risk transfer. You have to be transferring the risk that you have as a business owner to the captive insurance company that you're set up. And that's essentially the litmus test, our feasibility studies, which is the process a company would go to determine whether a captive is right for them, and if so, what policies they can put in it.
We believe, we hope we're right, that we have a fairly large audience of business owners and business executives. What should a business owner consider what should turn on the light for that person, that I better check into this captive insurance? What kind of fact?
Well, I think right now our phones are ringing off the hook because of my partner Blake Kerr had mentioned was a hardening of the markets. And pricing drives change. Pricing drives incentive to leave the commercial market and explore the way insurance can benefit someone in the captive space. So really the thing is cost and service and independence, because as pricing fluctuates in the commercial market, you gain stability when you're only insuring yourself. Even when you're pooled with other captives, the risk is significantly diluted, because the captive pools that we place our customers in are there are thousands of other captives, and there's also opportunities within the commercial market to purchase commercial reinsurance for our captives. So it's more stable, it's more independent, it's less likely to be impacted by claims being had in the greater commercial market, where they're passing that cost off to their customers. It's a way to be independent and control and retain your premium
and
dollars.
get the benefit of spreading the risk.
Absolutely, yes.
afraid that's going to have to be it.
Okay, well, I appreciate your all's time. Thank you for
You
having
bet.
me.
Well, thanks for coming on and explaining what could be a fairly complicated scenario in a way that we could all understand it. And good luck to Helio.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
All
thank
right.
you.
Kent and I'll be right back with a final word.
This is the epidemic of my generation. This is my HIV. This is my Black Plague.
In the midst of one of our state's largest crises,
Oklahomans are dying from this preventable and treatable disease on a daily basis.
we believe there's hope.
That little pill will cause destruction through your whole life.
Watch the entire award-winning 9-part docuseries Killing Pain, made available by Fighting Addiction Through Education at killingpain.com.
It used to be okay in hospitals. It used to be okay in movie theaters. It was okay in classrooms, restaurants, and airplanes. But thanks to a greater understanding of the dangers, that's not okay anymore. So now that we know secondhand smoke causes lifelong health problems, why is it still okay to smoke with children in the car? Bottom line, it's not okay. Let's get serious about protecting kids. Join the fight at stopswithme.com.
All children deserve a life of hope and love, but sometimes they experience a life of pain, neglect, and abuse.
When that happens, each child deserves all the quality assistance and representation that can be offered in our legal system. For more information, call 23-CHILD.
Oklahoma Lawyers for Children, helping to bring hope and love back to the lives of abused children.
Welcome back on the set of The Verdict. We're wrapping up a show. We learned more about captives and their role in American business.
Yeah, we really do appreciate our guests coming on today in a tandem fashion and handling a lot of information in a short period of time.
Blake Kerr, Kyle Sweet, thank you very much.